Hi there and welcome. I want to thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to watch this presentation on creating a stress-free retirement plan that can be income tax-free. My name is Jim Kipp. I'm a financial strategist, and for over 38 years, I've been educating people on how to grow and protect their wealth so they'll be able to keep more of what they've been able to save and ultimately keep Uncle Sam out of their pocket when they retire. My wife Pam and I moved from Wisconsin to Florida about 10 years ago. My office is located in Palm Coast, Florida, but I do a lot of my business virtually across the whole United States. This is my back office team. I have a lot of people helping me with things like compliance issues, market research, putting together wealth reports and retirement plans, and annual reviews for reports for my clients. This is my family. Pam and I here in Hawaii a couple of years ago. Below us is our daughter Mandy and her 5 kids. And they still live in Wisconsin. And then here are our 2 dogs, Bella on the left and Charlie down here on the lower right. Disclosures. This presentation is designed to provide general information on the subject covered. It is not intended to provide special legal or tax advice and cannot be used to avoid penalties or to promote, market, or recommend any tax plan or arrangement. You're encouraged to consult your own personal tax advisor or attorney and to do your own research and due diligence. The sources used to prepare this material are believed to be true, accurate, and reliable, and are not guaranteed. So could traditional financial advice be out of touch for today? Well, we've been taught that we'll be in a lower tax bracket when we retire. I'm sure you've heard that before. Invest in mutual funds because they're managed for you. All you have to do is invest in large cap, small cap funds, international funds for diversification, and you can avoid the stock market losses. And you should maximize your contributions to your 401k plan, 403b plan, or SEPs, or traditional IRAs. So this is a traditional financial advice for today. Now, when we do plans for people, we want to make sure that we cover the 6 financial planning considerations. First of all, longevity. You want to make sure that your retirement income is going to outlast your life, so you don't run out of income before you run out of life. You want to make sure that you have money that's liquid, so that you can invest in other opportunities, or if you have emergencies, like health emergencies, things like that, you want to have access to money. Of course, inflation, you have to stay ahead of inflation, and that's not easy today with the cost of prices going up. We want to take a look at the market. How can you protect your retirement plan from market crashes? And mortality, you want to make sure that your family is protected in case you die prematurely, so that they can replace your lost income and remain in their lifestyle that they're in right now. And then taxes, you want to make sure that you want to mitigate taxation as much as possible, so that down the road when you do retire, Uncle Sam isn't going to take a lot of your income. So this is the traditional retirement income model. I call it your grandfather's retirement plan, or in some cases, depending on your age, it could be your father's retirement plan. And you can see here they had a real nice foundation. It was a pension. You don't see pensions that much anymore. And then on top of that, they had Social Security. And then they had their savings investments at the top. That was the smallest portion of their retirement plan. They didn't have to do a lot up here because they had their income guaranteed down here. And it was their employer basically that took on most of the risk through a pension plan. And then their income was guaranteed for life. So that was the traditional retirement income model. But today, this is today's retirement income model. It's turned completely upside down. I call it the do-it-yourself retirement plan. And the reason for that is because pensions are way down here at the bottom. We don't see a lot of pensions. So really the only guaranteed income today is Social Security here. And then we have to take on most of the risk ourselves through our savings and investments. And that's at the top. That's the biggest portion. And basically we have to do it ourselves because nobody's going to help us with it. And then ultimately what we want to do is provide guaranteed income in retirement. So that's our challenge for today. Now, most of the people that are retiring today are really having a problem. They're really worried about running out of money when they retire. And I'll tell you this, that 9 out of 10 people, when I take a look at their current retirement plan and we project the income out throughout their lifetime, basically they're going to run out of money between 8 and 10 years because they haven't done it properly or they didn't know how to do it properly. Let's talk about stock market losses. Starting back in 1987, this is 2 years after I started my practice. It was Black Monday, October 19th, 1987. And that's when Wall Street started computerized trading. And the market started to collapse, but the computerized trading didn't stop. So the market went down 49% that year. And that was the biggest stock market loss at that time that we had in history. And then in the year 2000, we had the dot-com bubble burst, the tech stock crash. NASDAQ went down 51% in 2000. 2008 and 2009, which most people today remember, was the housing market crash or financial institution crash. Both of them collapsed at the same time. The S&P 500 in March of 2009 hit its low of minus 50%. Then in 2020, well, of course, we had the COVID-19 crisis. And just in March of 2020, in 1 month, the market collapsed 28%. So what's going to happen in 2023 and 2024? Well, the government is printing $120 billion a month. And a lot of that money is being used just to prop up the stock market. So how long can we go right now? I mean, yesterday, the market was at an all-time high again. And it's artificial. So you got to be prepared for another market crash coming soon. Stock market volatility. Well, if you invested $100,000 in the market and the market went down 30%, does the market have to come back 30% just for you to break even? Well, the answer to that is no. The market has to come back 43% because you went from $100,000 down to $70,000. And now this $70,000 here has to work harder. So it's got to earn 43% just to break even, just to get back to $100,000. And, that could take years for that to come back. And people that are doing their own investing, it typically works like this. This is the stock market. It's going up and down like a roller coaster. And as you probably know, most people are investing through emotion. And typically what happens is they buy in high when the market is high, and then they sell when it's low, which is completely opposite of what you should be doing. And so the way it works here is when the market starts to go up, they're feeling pretty good about getting in the market. And like today, like yesterday, the market was at an all-time high and people are thinking, wow, I could be making a lot of money. So they're buying in right now high. And then the market starts to come down eventually. And eventually they're riding the market down and they're getting a little bit nervous and they're thinking, well, man, when do I get out of it? And it turns out that they always sell at the wrong time, at the bottom of the market. Okay. And then basically they have to ride the market back up. So that could take years for that market to recover. We like to use a strategy called the indexing strategy. And, so what if you could eliminate stock market losses completely? What difference would that make? Well, the red line here is the market. This is the S&P 500, starting in the year 2000. And it went down for 3 years in a row. Then it came back a little bit here over this period of time, and then it went down again, and then it came back again, and then it went up, and then it went down. And so, that's your typical stock market over years. And we like to use the green line rather than the red line. The green line is indexing, and this works like this. When the stock market goes down, you can see it went down 3 years in a row. The green line stayed flat for 3 years in a row. So what that means is that you don't lose any money when the market goes down. You don't earn any money either, but you don't lose any money. And then when the market goes up again, your green line goes up according to the index that you're in. And then when the market went down, you can see it was flat, it stayed flat, but you didn't lose any money. And then the market went up again, and then down. And when the market went down, it stayed flat. And then the market goes up, so your account goes up. And then the market went down again, so you stayed flat. So in the green line, if you invested $100,000 in the beginning, over that period of time of 20 years, you would have had $499,000 in your account compared to being in the market of $261,000. And you were able to eliminate the heartburn over that period of time. You'd have quite a bit more money. So that's the indexing strategy. Now, we like to call it, when you don't make any money, we like to call it the power of zero. And let me compare the indexing strategy to a typical investment here. If you had $100,000 in the first year, you made 10%. Well, at the end of the year, you'd be at $110,000. And the second year, it went up 5%. So that $110,000 now grew to $115,500. And the next year it was up 6%. So now it's at $122,430. But look what happened in year 4. You had a market correction of minus 20%. So now you went from 122,000 down to 97,944. And then the next year, the market came back a little bit at 8%. So you're at 105,000. The next market was plus 3%. You're at 108,000. But in year 7, you had a market correction of minus 15%. So now you're back down to $92,000. And then market was plus 7%. So you're at 99,000, and then plus 8 and plus 10%. In year 10, you're at 117,809. And so you went from $100,000, and in 10 years, you are up to 117,809. So that's an average return of 2.2%. Now, compare that to the indexing strategy on the right-hand side. You have $100,000 you're starting out with. Of course, the market went up 10%, as you see on the left. So you're at $110,000. It went up to 5%, up 5% the second year. You're at 115,500. The 6%, you're at 122,430. But look what happened in year 4 when the market went down 20%. Okay. Your account didn't go down 20%. It just stayed at 0%. So you're locked in at 122,430. And then when the market came back the next 2 years in a row, now you're at $136,000 compared to $108,000 on the left-hand side. And then again, year 7, you had a 15% correction in the market, but you stayed at 0. So your high was at 136,190. You get to keep that. That's locked in. And then the market went up 3 years in a row after that. So that in year 10, you have $173,118 in your account compared to 117,809. So that's an average return on the indexing side of plus 5.70% compared to 2.2%. So what does that mean? So you're at $173,118 in your account, your index account. That's a 47% more amount of money in your account, just because you didn't participate in the losses in the market. So that's how indexing works, and that's why we like to use indexing strategies. Let's talk about taxes. I like to use the 30-year mortgage analogy here. Let's say that you went to your bank and you wanted to buy a $500,000 house, and you asked the banker for a 30-year loan for that house. And but here's the bank's conditions. The bank's not going to share with you what the interest rate is on that loan until at the end of the 30-year loan. And then whatever that interest rate is, whatever they deem the interest rate should be at that time, it's going to be retroactive back to day 1. Okay. Now, would you sign a document to take a loan out like that? Probably not. Well, it's a similar situation on your IRAs or 401k plans, okay, because those are tax deferred. All you're doing is you're postponing the tax to some date in the future when you retire. And the IRS now is saying, well, here are our conditions. We're not going to tell you what the tax rate is on your 401k plan until at the end of the term, or in other words, when you retire. That could be 20 years or 30 years down the road. And whatever tax rate is at that point, that's what you're going to have to pay on your IRA or 401k plan. So it's a very similar situation. So the question is, well, why in the world would you do something like that? You know, why would you get into a contract like that? Well, the reason is because you don't know any better, and that's what we have to use for retirement plans, and that's what we've been sold over the last 40 years. Okay. So that's not a good contract to be in, but 90% of us are in that contract. Let's talk about tax rates. Well, over here on the left-hand side, 1913, the Federal Reserve was started. And what happened was they started to collect income taxes. And during the First World War, well, the government had to fund that war. So taxes shot up like a rocket to help fund World War I. And you can see that the top marginal tax rate during the 1920s here was about 75%. Okay. And then they started to pay down the debt of the war, and then so they could reduce taxes. And then we had World War II. So the debt went sky high again to pay for the war. So they had to increase taxes. And the top marginal income tax rate back in 1944 was 94%. Can you imagine that? 94% tax rate. And then it went down a little bit, came back up. Then you had the Vietnam War, so they had to keep tax rates high to pay for that. And then we go all the way back, all the way down here to 2020, actually 2023 now. The top marginal tax rate is at 37%. So the average tax rate is 57.3% over all this time. And we're sitting down here at 37%. So we have a lot of room here where they can raise taxes to get us just to the average. And then there's something that's going to happen in 2025 that most people don't know about, and that's the 2017 Trump tax cuts. Those automatically sunset in December of 2025. What does that mean? That means that your tax rates are going to go back to what they were in 2016 before the Trump tax cuts. So in 2016, the top marginal tax rate was 39.6%. So we're going to automatically go from 37%, which we have right now, to 39.6% without anybody doing anything. And if you're doing some estate planning, that's really going to hit you hard, because the estate tax, the estate credit that you get is going to be cut in half. Right now, we're enjoying an estate tax credit of almost $26 million per couple. What does that mean? That means that if your estate is under $26 million, you don't have to worry about paying any estate tax. Okay. Well, most people are not even in that category there. But look what happens in 2016. It goes back to what the estate tax credit was back in 2016. It was $11 million per couple. Now, if you own a business or other type of real estate investments out there, it's very easy now to get over $11 million, and anything over $11 million in the state is going to get taxed at 40%. It's a 40% tax rate. Okay. So these are things that are coming, and most people don't know about it because they're not paying attention. So this is something that everybody needs to know about, and virtually nobody knows about it, to a few people. It's the debt to GDP ratio. Okay, well, what is debt? I think we all know what debt is. Okay, we all pretty much have debt. But what's GDP? GDP is basically the gross domestic product. And that's all the products and services that the country spends money on in a year. And so we have to, the debt to GDP ratio is basically a leading indicator of tax increases. So follow me on this because it's very important. This is kind of like, your own personal budget when you want to go to a bank to get a loan. It's your debt to income ratio. So if you go into a bank and you have more debt than you have income, well, you're not going to get that loan. You're not going to get that mortgage. This is a very, very similar situation, but this is our country. So you can see here that that in World War II hit right about here in the 40s, and you can see that the government debt skyrocketed because they had to pay for that war. And the red line are our tax rates. So you can see that the red line had to go up. They had to raise taxes substantially to help pay for World War II. And they kept it at that rate. I mean, this is up over 90% right here. And then they kept it there. And you can see that that was paying down the debt. Okay. And we go all the way over here to 2020 when we hit, when COVID hit. Okay. And then Congress went on a spending spree. And you can see, look at the debt ratio here now. We're looking at a debt ratio of 130%. And the rule of thumb is you want the countries, they need to keep that debt below 100%, because if you're over 100%, that means that you're not bringing in enough tax dollars to pay for that debt. And the debt to GDP ratio was back here in the 1940s. It was at 118%. We're currently at 130%. This has never happened in US history. But look at where the tax rate is down here. We're at a high of 37% is our highest marginal tax rate right now. But look where our debt is, way up here. So what are they going to have to do? They're going, just like they did here in the 40s, they had to raise the tax rate to help pay this debt down. They have to raise our taxes to help pay our debt down because our country is headed to bankruptcy. Okay? That's why this is called the leading indicator of tax increases. So they're going to be raising taxes very soon. So when COVID hit in 2020, 2019, and 2020, man, the government was writing checks like crazy. They spent over $4.6 trillion to stimulate the economy again. Businesses, I mean, if you have your own business, you know, you got a PPP check to help get you over the hump. Local governments were all getting checks from the government to bail them out. Households, we all got individual checks in the mail from the Treasury Department. You probably know some people that got laid off and they were making more money being laid off through unemployment than they were getting paid through their job. And so what happens here is you can only do that so long. The government is still printing $120 billion a month just to stimulate the economy. And a lot of that money is going into the stock market to prop the stock market up. So this is all artificial. And they're putting a lot of money into residential and commercial mortgage-backed securities. When they start stopping the printing presses, or at least even slowing it down, you're going to see the stock market collapse, and you're going to see the housing and commercial mortgage securities collapse. You're going to see both of these go down at the same time, and we are headed in that direction very quickly right now. So you need to be prepared for that. So let's talk about government spending. This is the US debt clock. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but this is really interesting because you can go online, go into usdebtclock.org, and this is in real time. And you're going to see that the national debt here is just clicking away like crazy. We're currently at $33 trillion. I put this slide together, I think about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and we were at, well, now we're at $33,670 billion. And so this thing is just flying. But look what happens. We're bringing in $4.3 trillion in tax revenue right now, but our spending is $6 trillion. So that means that we're $2 trillion behind what we're bringing in. In the national debt, the $33 trillion, we're paying almost $4 trillion in interest just on the national debt. So all of the tax revenue that we bring in goes toward paying the interest on the debt, because nothing's going toward the budget. Okay, so what are they doing? They just keep printing more money, printing more money. Okay, and eventually that's going to catch up to us. So in August and November, Fitch and Moody's downgraded the US credit rating down from stable to negative. And that was due to the erosion in fiscal management. That was their reasoning behind it. This is the second time in US history that they lowered the US credit rating. So what does that mean? That means that that's going to put more pressure on Congress to fix the debt problem. Well, how are they going to do that? Well, Former Comptroller General David Walker, he was the chief accountant of the United States. He said, we're heading to a future where we'll have to cut federal spending by 60% or double federal income taxes. So which do you think it's going to be? Is Congress going to spend or cut spending by 60%, or do you think they're going to raise taxes? Yeah, they're probably going to raise taxes. Well, how does that relate to our 401k plans or IRAs? Basically, our retirement plans. Well, if we're in a 30% tax rate, which you're probably in right now, and you have a 401k and at retirement, you have $1 million. Well, Uncle Sam's portion is 30% of that, or $300,000. Your portion is $700,000. If they raise taxes to 50%, well, okay, this is what happens. Uncle Sam's portion now is $500,000, and your portion is $500,000. So basically, Uncle Sam is your partner in your retirement plan. That doesn't seem too good, does it? How does that relate to taking income off of your retirement plan? Well, if you have $1 million in retirement and you could earn 4% on that $1 million, okay, that's going to generate $40,000 a year income. And in a 30% tax bracket, 30% of that is going to be paid out in tax because you didn't pay tax on that because you deferred it. So you're going to pay $12,000 on that 40,000. You're going to net only $28,000 in income. Well, what if they raise it to 50%? Well, 50% of $40,000 is $20,000 tax. So you're only going to net $20,000. You're going to split this with Uncle Sam. So how, basically, how is your plan doing? First of all, are you going to even have $1 million in your retirement plan when you retire? Even if you had $2 million in your retirement plan and you stayed with this model here, $2 million, you're going to net $40,000 a year if you had $2 million in your plan. Okay, I don't think you're going to be able to survive on that. Maybe you will if you live in a trailer. But, so you need to take a look at your plan. How are you doing so far? The average person at age 65 today only has $265,000 in his retirement account. That's ridiculous. We're just not saving enough money. Well, you could set it up in a Roth IRA. Roth IRA is income tax free. That's a good option. But guess what? This is a government plan, and the government doesn't want people that are making money to have tax-free plans, okay? Because this is a government plan. Well, what they do is they restrict your contributions. So if you're under 50 years old, you can only put $6,500 a year into your Roth IRA. If you're over 50, you can put $7,500 in it. That's not enough. You need to be saving more than that. Or if you earn over $218,000 in income, you can't even have a Roth IRA. So the government restricts people who are making money and they want to save money into the Roth IRA. They're not going to allow you to have it. Now, there's something that you can do. For instance, if you have a old 401k plan from another previous employer, or you have an IRA, a traditional IRA that you were saving money in the past, well, what you could do is you could convert that to a Roth IRA. Okay, so now you have a lump sum of money. You can convert that to an IRA, and the point here is that what you want to do is you want to pay the tax now at about the lowest tax rate we're in, right now before the tax rates go sky high. Okay, but you have to convert that. And it's not very comfortable to do that, even though we're in a relatively low tax rate environment right now. You could do it over a period of time. It's really hard to do over a lump sum, you know, take, 37% of that, but that's a whole lot better than taking 50% or more in the future. And then in the future, that IRA is going to be higher, okay, because hopefully it's growing. So now you got to pay more tax. So this is an option if you can do it. We help you figure that out. So what is the perfect retirement investment? Well, the perfect retirement investment out there has all green boxes. You want no risk, you want guarantees, you want no penalties, you want liquidity. In other words, you want to be able to get at your money when you need it. You want to protect it from stock market losses. You want to be able to leverage it for opportunities. It should be tax deferred, ultimately tax free, so you can pass it on to your family tax free. Use it as collateral, tax deductible to your contributions if possible, be available for disability, and then ultimately pass it on to your family income tax free. That's the perfect investment vehicle. Well, IRAs and 401ks only have two green boxes. The rest are red. Okay. So, and then it's really only one. I mean, the 401k plan is tax deferred and you can deduct the payments, the contributions, but typically not with a traditional IRA anymore because they limit it to your income. So here are the rest of the investment vehicles out there. And you can see that almost all the boxes are red. There's only a couple of them that have a couple green boxes, but these are not really, really good investment vehicles to be in that will check most of these green boxes here. Well, okay, so what is the best retirement vehicle out there? Well, believe it or not, it's a maximum funded tax advantage life insurance policy. This is not your father's life insurance policy. This is a policy that's specifically designed using the IRS code that minimizes taxes. And again, it has to be properly structured. And I'm in the top 1% in the country that knows how to do this properly. Because if you're not following the IRS code, you're going to have penalties and taxation like you wouldn't believe. You do not get all these benefits if you don't do it properly. We use an index universal life plan, and it has an income tax-free death benefit. And also there's benefits if you become critically ill or you have a chronic illness, you can have access to the death benefit to help pay for that. And it has a terminal illness benefit. And I used this about 20 years ago on a client. We had set him up on a plan like this, and he found out that he had to have a liver transplant. So in order to get on the liver transplant list, it cost him $250,000, and he didn't have that money. So what we did was we were able to tap into his death benefit for $250,000. He got on the liver transplant list and had a liver transplant, and it literally saved his life. So he was able to survive by having a contract like this. And then ultimately, you want to be able to get your money out tax-free through loans and withdrawals. And this is where we get into details when we get together to talk about this and on how you do that. The indexes that we use, here's a current sheet that we have here. They have a fixed interest account. It's like a 1-year CD. It's currently at 5.30% guaranteed. We have a trigger, S&P 500 trigger index. This is kind of neat. If the S&P 500 does anything over 0%, let's say it did a 0.5% for the year, you're going to get 8.25% in your account interest for the year. And then we have a regular S&P 500 index that you can follow. It's got a cap on it of 12.5%. So what does that mean? That means that if the S&P 500 does 20%, you're only going to get 12.5% for that year. But still, that's not too bad without any risk. Right now, we're using the Bloomberg US Dynamic Balance Index and the PIMCO Tactical Balanced Index. And these don't have a cap, okay? So whatever the index does, for instance, on the Bloomberg, if the index was up 10% for the year, you would get 190% of that index. So if it did 10%, you would get 19% in your account. If the PIMCO did 10%, you'd get 18.5% because that has a 185% participation rate, okay? So this is a way that you can really, without taking any risk, is you can really earn a decent rate of return in these types of accounts. So basically, we teach people how to be their own bank. Their bank is their insurance contract if it's set up properly. And all the money that is in this account here, 90% of it is available to you because you have to keep enough in there, 10% roughly to provide the death benefit for you. And you can use it for college funding for your kids. So instead of taking out a college loan, be your own bank and then pay yourself back with interest. You can do home remodeling. You could buy a car. It doesn't matter what it is. It's your money. I like to use this for real estate investing for clients. Let's say they're flipping a house and they need $60,000 to put into that house. Well, they loan it out to themselves rather than to a bank. So they go and rehab the house, and then they sell the house, and then they pay themselves back. And then they go and find another house, and they do it all over again. But ultimately, what you want to do is you want to use this for tax-free income over here, okay? So at the end of the road here is you're going to create income off of this cash value that you have, but you can get it out income tax-free. So here's a little schedule here. This is off of one of our wealth reports that we provide for people. I know the numbers are a little bit hard to read here, but if you can follow this, this is great. We're going to compare the Index Universal Life Insurance policy over here compared to the 401k plan here. And it's apples to apples, 6.5% average rate of return every year. And you're putting, this is a 46-year-old putting in $25,000 a year through age 65, so over a 20-year period. And he's able to now take $86,223 out tax-free for the rest of his life to age 120. That's as far as they go. Compared to over here, the 401k plan, because this is all tax deferred and now 100% taxable at retirement, he's got to take out $128,691 at a 30% tax bracket, okay, to net the $86,223, okay? So apples to apples comparison, he's got to take out much more money and pay the tax to net the $86,000. And you can see if he does that, he's going to run out of money here at age 78. Okay, there's zero money left in the 401k or IRA. It's gone. And if he has any losses in here at all, that's just going to collapse this account quicker. 20% loss, 10% loss, whatever. It's going to collapse this account much quicker because this is at an average return of 6.5% with no losses in this example. So the life insurance here, They put in $500,000 of contributions total. That's $25,000 times 20 years. And if you take this out to life expectancy at age 81 here, he was able to take out almost $1.3 million in income, tax-free income, and then there's still a death benefit of $269,568 that his beneficiary gets income tax-free. So the total benefits, the total distributions of $1.3 million in a death benefit of $269,000 is $2 million. That's in benefits. And the 401k plan over here, or traditional IRA, is completely out of money. There's nothing to pass on to anybody. Okay. So that's a big deal, big difference. So if this resonates with you at all a little bit, you know, you may want to get together with me and set up a financial discovery meeting. All you have to do is scan this QR code here to get on my calendar, and we'll have a 1-hour meeting to go over your situation. I'll be able to prepare a wealth report for you. I'm going to go over your current plan, show you where you're at. I'm going to show you how to protect your retirement plan from market losses, how you can replace lost income to your family in the event of premature death. If you're a business owner, you can use this plan to fund your buy-sell agreement. That's pretty awesome. I'll show you how you can have access to your funds in the event of emergencies or investment opportunities, and then ultimately receive lifetime tax-free income, potentially increasing your net retirement income 40 to 50%. That's pretty huge. So I want to encourage you to set up a meeting with me, scan this QR code, and let's get together and talk about your situation. So I want to thank you for watching this presentation, and I hope that we can talk in the near future. So thanks a lot.